So FrontlineSMS Medic on the developer side, some of you may have heard of it, they built a patient record-keeping module, so this is probably of more interest to the programmers here. We've got all these new modules being added to the software. They built a patient record-keeping system which is SMS-driven. Community healthcare workers can access and update patient records in a clinic using SMS only, which is important because the phones they have only do SMS. FrontlineSMS Credit won some money recently from Vodafone to build a microfinance module which allows you to transfer money or use the money transfer service available in your country to automate payments, to send money and to receive money from lenders, borrowers. Maybe if you're paying community healthcare workers, you can transfer money that way. FrontlineSMS Legal is looking to use SMS to extend the reach of legal services to communities that don't have access to legal services. That's quite a new one. FrontlineSMS Learn, which has actually just raised some money in Uganda, is building a module to try and extend mobile learning and extend the reach of the classroom to school children who maybe can't always get to school, or maybe there's homework they can do or other things they can do through their mobile phones to increase their learning opportunity. And then finally, we've launched this with Cambridge University recently. FrontlineSMS Radio is building a radio module which allows community radio stations to have a dashboard on a laptop in front of them, and they can interact live two-way with their listeners while the programs are going out. There's been quite a lot of work with radio and SMS, and a lot of our users are very interested in doing more with that. So a couple of screenshots, and I'll just whiz you through the software quickly. We have an offline data collection tool, an SMS-driven data collection tool, so you can use a basic Java phone, and you can collect structured data on a form which you design in our software, and all the transmission is done via SMS. So you don't need GPRS or 3G, you need a cheap, basic end phone, and it needs to have Java, so not totally basic, but reasonably basic. And you can design new forms, and you can send the actual forms to the phones via SMS as well. So once the client's on the phone, the community healthcare worker never has to go back again, ever, to the main hospital. This is a medical record system which Medic created, totally SMS driven. It's been launched in beta. If you go to medic.frontlinesms.com, you can download it. It's being trialled now, and I think it's being used in about 11 countries. And it's very exciting again that they're trying to extend the reach of these kinds of technologies to organisations who previously wouldn't have had access to it. And then finally, this was announced 2 days ago in the US. It's an offline mapping tab, so basically what you can do is when you get to the internet you can download your maps, and then you can disappear off into rural areas, and you don't need to go on the internet again to actually use the maps. So a lot of mapping is really exciting organisations who want to visualise their data, visualise disease outbreaks or whatever it might be, but you need the internet usually to do that. You know, Google Maps and so on doesn't work if you don't have the internet. So this is designed to take it offline. And when you get back to the internet, you can then upload and sync the maps with an online map, which allows you then to share that more widely. And we're very excited about this because I think there's lots of NGOs who could use mapping in their work but don't because they have no internet or it's just technically too challenging. So let me just show you quickly what the software looks like. This laptop's sliding down so keep a hand on it. This is the dashboard. So it's a client that you just download off of the website and you install it on a local machine. It doesn't go on a web server, it doesn't sit in the cloud, it doesn't do anything like that. If you have a Mac or a PC or a Linux box, so it's running off my Mac now, for example. So it's designed to be, you know, one user, standalone messaging hub. There's nothing really cleverer than that. You can customize the logo here, put your organization logo in. These are all the language flags here, so we can flip it into Saudi Arabian. Anyone here read Saudi Arabian or Arabic? No? And these are all user-translated languages, so Azerbaijani, Bangla, or Bangladesh. And what happens is that previously actually users had to email us a file we sent them to translate all of the screens, but what we've done since, and you can't see it on this version, actually I'll put it back to English, it might be easier for people to read in English. What we have on the new version is a translation manager, which is actually one of the tabs that allows you to go through and edit all the languages on the system and add your own language. And then once you have that, you can share it with the wider community by uploading it to our site. So we're trying to give the localization options over to the users. And it's nice that we now have about 15 or a dozen or so languages which all the users have translated for us. Some are wrong, so you can go in and edit existing translations as well if somebody's made a mistake. So that gives you control. There's a contacts management section, so the usual kind of contacts manager, you can create groups and subgroups, and then you can select those groups and send a single message to all of those people. Nothing too amazingly clever in there. In the keyword section, you can set up a whole bunch of different keyword actions. So if somebody was to text in, let's quickly do one, let's create a new keyword and then call it, I don't know, test. When anyone texts in a message that starts with the keyword test, you can get the software to trigger all sorts of different actions. And give you a few examples here. So when test comes in, you can trigger an automatic reply to that message. It could be a price for a crop, or it could be an opening time for a clinic, or information about how to be tested for HIV, or whatever it might be. The message can be auto-forwarded to everybody else in the group that person's a member of, so that's a good way of broadcasting a message from the field into the hub and then back out to everybody in your group, which might be useful for election monitoring. You can use the keyword join, which will then automatically add that person to a group. So you could send out a message to people and say, if you want to join our weekly SMS subscriber alert with information on health, text join to whatever numbers associated with your system, and the software will automatically add them into those groups. So you can automatically build subscription groups. You can have the message leave, which allows people to leave. You can also have incoming SMS forwarded as email. So if you have the internet on your computer, you can actually get all the incoming SMSs in your Gmail account if you want to monitor what's going on with the system. And then there's sort of a geeky one for, okay, we've lost that. Come on, press the buttons. Oh, there we go. There's one for the geeky sort of ones here. This is the last one I'll show you. On external commands, you can basically have the software forward the SMS over the internet to an online service, could be a map or anything like that. Or you can run an external command, so you can pass that SMS to any program running on your computer or any external database, do some stuff with it, pass a message back to FrontlineSMS, and then FrontlineSMS will send that reply back to the user. So you can link it up to all sorts of other systems based on whatever you really want to do. Is there anything else that's worth showing you? Emails tab, the messages tab is just a regular message history. The emails tab will show you all the emails the system has sent based on what emails you want to get to you. And then the phone manager just displays connections on your computer. If you have phones and modems attached, it will display in the working section at the top. I have none, so they're all down the bottom with no phone detected. You can also connect to Clickatel and IntelliSMS and other online services as well. So if you have an internet connection and you want to do large numbers of messages, we don't recommend using a GSM modem because they're limited to about 8 a minute. It's not a very good tool to use in an emergency situation because it has to take so long. And that's just down to the limitations of the GSM protocol. But you can connect to Clickatel or IntelliSMS and send larger numbers through an online service if you do have the internet. So we have the mapping tab coming out soon. We have another couple of modules. The radio one will become another tab along the top. If you were to download the FrontlineSMS Medic beta, you would have another tab along the top here, which would have theirs in. So what's been happening over the last year is people are building new modules which just drop into this core platform. So if you want to do something with SMS and you don't want to write an SMS gateway from scratch, and you want to tap into a pretty large and strong user community of users and a growing developer community, we haven't really focused too much on that yet. But if you want to have a good starting point for any SMS-based service, I think FrontlineSMS is a good one if it's the kind of fit that you want, because you can really tap into all of this functionality. If in a few months' time you realise you can start paying people, then you just tap into the credit module, which allows you to do payments. If you then decide you want to do mapping, you just tap into the mapping module. So it's really a crowdsourced way of getting all this functionality into a single platform. And as a final note, I think there's obviously good and bad uses for this kind of thing. I mean, one of the things that Sean and I have talked about quite a lot is the comparison of Rapid SMS and FrontlineSMS. I think it's not really useful to necessarily compare them. They actually are quite different tools. There are things on a larger scale that you can do with Rapid SMS, and you can certainly do run more national or wider services. For us, we're going for the very small user who's doing maybe a few thousand messages a week, where a GSM modem attached to a computer sitting out in the field might be an appropriate solution. But if you want to do wider, bigger scale stuff, then it's probably not useful for that. And I have actually told users who have emailed us and said, we'd like to send 10,000 messages a week, and we're going to receive 20,000 a week. I said, you don't do that through an attached modem. It's just going to catch fire. It's just way too much stuff. So I think with all these tools, it's important just to think about how appropriate they are and whether or not they're the best fit. And if they're not, try and find something else that might be. Because there's quite a few things out there now. There's certainly a very rich ecosystem of tools that you can take and work off of the back of. So I think that's pretty much under time, perhaps a little bit, which is good. And I'm happy to talk about this later on if anyone's interested in seeing a bit more, or asking any questions, or talking about where the developer community